like to bring us back to order and certify our closed session. The following resolution is required following closed session per section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia. As per the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA requirements, a roll call vote is required. Be it resolved that to the best of each board member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements and only such matters as were identified in the motion to go into closed session were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed session.
Aye. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to our February board meeting. We are thrilled to have everybody here and really looking forward to one of our first agenda items. I see these smiling faces out here. I would like to welcome everybody. We begin today, as always, with a pledge. I would like to ask Supervisor Michael if you would lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now I'd like for us all to engage in a moment of silence. Let's reflect on the goings on in our community and our nation and our world in the way that you feel best suited to do that. Thank you. As we get started today, I'd like to welcome everyone, especially a couple of our friends from the town of Buchanan. We have Mayor Sue Way today, and we have our town manager, Angela Lawrence, with us today. We welcome them. Really excited to have you all here today. So thank you. And we're going to be hearing a walk-on item from the town of Buchanan. So I would like to, or regarding the town of Buchanan. So I would like to ask that we amend the agenda for today to bring on the walk-on item, which I think all the supervisors have before you, and you were given that yesterday. So do I have a motion to amend the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. So to get us started today, I want to bring up Ms. Bradbury. And we are going to start with a presentation of the Fall in Love with BoCo initiative. Thank you, Tiffany.
Good afternoon. I was going to say good morning. Oh my gosh. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for letting us talk a little bit about our Fall in Love initiative. I wanted to share a really quick video with you that we have collaborated with the Parkway Players. We were able to debut this at our State of the County address back earlier this month. And this is a song that was written by David Austin, one of Botetourt's own. We had a little rivalry between, I've got some students here, between LB and James River in this, just to let you guys know. But we've got this music video that we wanted to share with you guys.
Love is all around in Botetourt County, you're greeted with a smile. Love is all around in Botetourt County, drop in and stay a while. Neighbor helping neighbor, friend helping friend, blessing one another time and time again. What a place to live, oh what a place to be. There's never been a shortage of hospitality. Love is all around in Botetourt County, you're greeted with a smile. Love is all around in Botetourt County, drop in and stay a while. Every season brings a beauty of its own. Every town offers the charm of home. There's so much to visit, enjoy, and do, with the parkway looking over and the James running through. Love is all around in Botetourt County, in Botetourt County. You're greeted with a smile. Love is all around in Botetourt County. Botetourt County, drop in and stay a while. All around in Botetourt County, in Botetourt County, you're greeted with a smile. Love is all around in Botetourt County, Botetourt County, drop in and stay a while. Love is all around in Botetourt County, in Botetourt County, greeted with a smile. Love is all around in Botetourt County, Botetourt County, drop in and stay a while. Love is all around. Love is all around. It's all around.
Thank
you, guys. All right, let's turn that off. Let's get back to the Zoom. So we were just, we had this idea to do a song, and David Austin wrote that, and then they performed it. And this is going to be the first in a series. So it's going to be, you know, one that's Buchanan centric, one that's Troutville centric, one that's over in Blue Ridge centric, one that honors our agriculture and our farmers. I'm hoping to get some students involved, which I'm sure Dr. Russ already told me I could, right? Yes. Okay. So we're going to really take this as just kind of leaning into that fall in love with Botetourt County, because I know a lot of times it feels like our day-to-day jobs can be a little bit stressful, but we've got so much to love here in the county. I know me living here for 23 years. I mean, we've raised our family here and I love it. So that's a little bit of a sneak peek there for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I heard that at the State of the County, and that song will kind of stick in your ear.
It's a little bit of an earworm.
It is kind of an earworm. Absolutely. And I think you're going to stay up,
Yes.
Tiffany, and talk about some art contest winners.
Yes, and I am going to invite, I have got, I think 11 or 12 students with me. So students, come down front. Look, they're real excited about this, right? So Jessica Hauer on my team, you know, she's out with her new little baby, but this was all her idea. So she had an idea to kind of get, you know, engage with our students. You guys can all line up right back here. You can line up and face these smiling faces. She had an idea to engage middle and high schoolers, because a lot of times we'll do art contests, maybe with the kindergartners or preschoolers, but we wanted to see what our middle school and high schoolers had to offer, while also teaching them a little bit about a civics lesson. So it was for our annual report. So that was the vision for all of it. So you guys' artwork is all throughout our annual report. So these are the winners. And as I call their name, they are going to come up and they are going to show you their artwork. And then I'm going to take it back from them because we're going to figure out how to display it. But we had 121 entries. Okay, so we've got artwork from Lord Botetourt, from James River, and from Central Academy. And I do have Miss Courtney May here, one of our art teachers. So she was instrumental in this and getting her kiddos engaged. So without further ado, Miss Kaylee Berry, she was our overall winner, best in show. So show them your art. Yeah, right here. Yep. You can step. Okay, Reagan Childs was the best overall for James River High School. We've got Ashby Wilkes was best overall for Central Academy. Okay, let's see. I had Abby Humphreys, best overall for Lord Botetourt High School.
Some.
Okay, I've got Brooklyn Badia. Did I say it right? Did I get it? Close? Okay, so Brooklyn, she won in telling BoCo's story. So we love that quality of life. And she's from Central Academy Middle School. Caroline Rushing, she talked all about business in BoCo from Central Academy Middle School. Braylon Scott talked about good government from Central Academy Middle School. Amber Stevens, quality of life. Where are you at, Amber? There you are. So Amber did quality. I love. Okay. Elizabeth Meadows, Sheriff's Office. She's from LB.
The dog.
Neela Miguel, Fire EMS. I mean, I'm a little partial to this one, you know. August Buring was one of our honorable mention candidates because check out this cow. Check it
That's
out.
beautiful.
We did Kylie. I don't know. Okay. So we had she was,
Yeah.
Here's Kylie's. So that's Kylie Aaron's.
Awesome.
First featured the cherry block. So again, we had 17 winners. We've got goodie bags for everyone. We're just super proud of the youth in our community and how they also got a little bit of, a civics lesson about government, right? So I'm really thankful that you all were able to let us come in front of you today and be able to share that. Yes. So if you guys have anything you'd like to say to them, have at it. I told them we wouldn't embarrass them too much.
Thank you all for spending the time and taking what Botetourt County gives and you give back. So thank you so much for what you've done. I think that hopefully this will be put out there pretty soon. Tiffany, you said in a book?
It's
Okay.
Man.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you all so much. Anything else?
Good job.
It looks like you not only did great art, you learned a lot, as Ms. Bradbury said, about civics, and also it looks like you learned some history of Botetourt County. I saw some of our landmarks, the swinging bridge, the courthouse, some of our businesses. That is fantastic work, you all. And the cow especially makes me think that very soon we will be advertising a contest for the Botetourt County Fair to be on our t-shirt this year. We have been selecting local art for our Botetourt County Fair t-shirts over the past 3 or 4 years. So please stay tuned for that, because I think I already see some entries that could go nicely in there. And Ms. May, I assume you coordinated all this. Thank you so much. Fantastic work. Thank y'all. Thank you. Great work. Yes, thank the parents. Get lots of pictures. So our next item, number 4 on your agenda, we have a citizen comment period for items specific to the agenda. Looks like I have one listed so far. If anyone else would like to speak, go ahead and come on down. But our first citizen comment will be Lee Martell.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Lee Martell, Buchanan District. I've read a large portions of the Envision Botetourt 2040 document that details how the county plans to spend our tax revenue and run the county according to the comprehensive plan. This document is a real beauty. Here's one of the more concerning points from Chapter 3 on arts, culture, and history. The idea of incentivizing historical property purchase through local tax credits or breaks of some kind. In case anyone has forgotten, which based on my recent weeks canvassing neighborhoods, people have not forgotten, the recent real estate reassessments combined with the revenue non-neutral tax rate have really created a burden on BoCo property owners. Do you know what an Alice household is? According to Envision Botetourt 2040, that's an asset-limited, income-constrained, employed household. It earns more than the poverty level, but still lives paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. So this type of family probably makes too much for EBT or SNAP benefits, but they're working their tails off to pay their bills, put food on the table, raise the kids, and pay their burdensome taxes. Buchanan District has the greatest percentage of Alice households in the county. I'm betting none of them live in restored historic properties listed in Virginia's Department of Historic Resources. 86.4% of the 12,916 housing units in Botetourt are detached single-unit homes, basically single-family standalone houses. 86.7% of housing is owner-occupied. For 2022, the number of working-age county residents, specifically aged 20 to 65, was 18,754 out of a total of 33,734. That's 55% of the county population. Over half the county is at the age where they're paying for the house they live in and paying to raise children at an average of $235,000 per child, and most of them are one emergency away from financial catastrophe. Who needs more help from the county on taxes? Homeowners who can afford to take on a historical preservation project, or working families living paycheck to paycheck, paying their bills and supporting their families? I know Botetourt government is just bonkers about Visit Virginia's Blue Ridge marketing and all that racket, trying to drum up tourist dollars to see sites such as our replica courthouse from 1973 that y'all didn't take good enough care of in 50 years to continue using. So I can't help but wonder, is Botetourt pushing this historic property tax break idea so that the county government can receive certified local government grants from Virginia's DHR? Are you lot trying to throw the biggest group of working people in the county under the bus to get a few more dollars from the state and add tourism items to your legislative resumes? Take a look at your Angus and Charolais, because those are your cash cows, not Botetourt working families.
Thank you. Are there other speakers? Thank you. We do not have a consent agenda. Our minutes are not ready for review at this moment, so we are going to move on to agenda item number 6. I will ask Ms. Davis to come down for the approval of transfers and additional appropriations.
Give me just one second. Sorry. Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. So for the month of February, we had one transfer request, which was a recurring quarterly transfer for various departments related to store supplies from the purchasing department. There were additionally 6 pass-through items. The first was related to appropriated funds to the jail for medical reimbursements, work group payments, and fingerprints. The second was to appropriate VDEM dispatch training grant to the dispatch department. The third item is for appropriations to the sheriff's office related to miscellaneous reimbursements, fees, grant funds, and contract payments. There are 2 appropriations to the libraries for donations received, and the last is an appropriation to Fire EMS for funds received from Western Virginia EMS Council. There were no regular appropriations for the month. It is requested that these transfers and appropriations be approved by the board. Are there any questions I can answer at this time?
Any questions for Ms. Davis?
Chair, if there's no questions, I move for approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Ms. Davis, now we'll move on to item number 7, approval of accounts payable and ratification of short accounts payable list.
Okay, and for the month of February, we had a total of $1,442,108.46 for AP. We are finally back to a regular cadence with that. I know the last few months have been, due to holiday schedules, a little bit off track, but we are back this month with just the 2. Notable disbursements for the month included $250,000 paid to Sheehy for 5 2025 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles. Are there any questions or comments related to the accounts payable expenses for February?
Any questions from the board?
I have no questions. I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That carries as well. And Ms. Davis, you're also up for the next agenda item, our budget update. And I do want to thank you for continuing to do these for us and keeping everyone apprised of where we are in this complex process.
Absolutely. Yeah, so here we are again. We are looking at the third budget update to the board this month. This one is going to represent additional amendments and recommendations made by the county administrator. So you can see after this, the next item up is the budget subcommittee meetings, which will be an additional layer of review. Once that's completed, that will be communicated to the full board, followed by a presentation of the advertised budget at the next board meeting. After that, we will have a public review and public hearings that will be held in early April with hopefully a budget adoption on April 22nd. So once again, just a reminder of the guidelines that were put in place by county administration this year to help structure the budget requests. This guidance really did help facilitate a much lower requested amount in the beginning, which you'll see in one of the charts a little later in the presentation. So we now have concluded the second review stage by the county administrator. And again, those recommendations will be reflected in this presentation today. The budget will next be reviewed by the budget subcommittee in early March, next week in fact, and then will be conveyed in the recommended budget. Again, this will be advertised and open to public feedback prior to adoption. Okay, and here we have a very colorblind friendly chart as requested last time. So hopefully there's no difficulty with that one. So this is just a chart reflecting where we stand in the allocation of operating dollars by categorical area. So as you can see, we began the process with a total operating request of 94.7 million. That has now been reduced to 90.6 per the current draft after both the budget task force and county administrator review. The percentages have shifted slightly, but by and large, it's still in the same categorical or the same order by category. Education still taking up the largest portion, followed by public safety. Again, just noting that the figure for the schools is really unchanged at this time. So it's really just sort of a placeholder at this time. Okay. So moving on to capital expenditures, you can see here the allocation by category. This was reduced from an initial request of 6.4 million to less than half to now at 3.1 million. There have been some more significant changes in the allocation for the capital. Public Works, yes, Public Works is now the largest categorical area, followed by General Government and Public Safety in second. So much of what is funded in this current draft includes the continuation of existing projects and commitments, as well as ongoing maintenance needs. There are some additional larger projects where alternate funding options are being considered and not included in these totals. Okay. So here, this is what I was talking about earlier. You can see the progression of the budget as it moves through the various review stages for both FY26 and FY25, the current budget year and the upcoming budget year. So again, as you can see, the structure of the budget guidelines really helped minimize the initial requests as compared to last year. So the changes are a little less dramatic because of that, because we started at a much lower position. And again, just to note, for last year's, the decisions for the school funding were not made until the final bullet there for budget subcommittee. So that's why you see such a change there from last year. Okay, and now on to revenues. So there was a minor adjustment from last time. Again, these are estimates. They continue to be refined as we have more information. So there was a small increase from the forecast presented in January. There's really still been very little change with the federal and state revenues, so that change is primarily reflected in local dollars. And this one's my favorite. So as you can see from last time, we have the green bar, which represents the revenues, and the orange line, which represents expenditures. Where we started off, there was a pretty significant budget gap of almost $6 million. Through the work of a lot of people internally, expenditures have been reduced to be in line with projected revenues at this point in time. And we're actually in a positive budget position. Again, just want to emphasize that this is still all the draft. Things we do still anticipate to change, but I'm very happy to see that intersection on this page. So are there any questions I can answer at this time?
Any questions? I will
Good work.
proactively, I will thank you for the update and the work, and then proactively thank Supervisor Clinton and Michael for the work you're about to get ready to do. So appreciate that. And anybody have any questions for Ms. Davis?
Thank you.
All right,
Wonderful.
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you. I will now move on to item number 9, our VDOT monthly update. And then I see that Sheriff Ward is here, so I'll pull you in after that as an add-on, as a walk-on item. So you'll be after Mr. Blevins. Thank you. Mr. Blevins, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here again this month. As far as our monthly agenda, last year's projects for resurfacing are complete. We should be starting the new ones for this year in the next few months. I know they've started at scheduling pre-construction meetings with the contractors here over the next few weeks. So I'll have more information about the timing, but in general, it usually occurs between March and November. As for all of our site plans, the land development projects that are currently under review, they're all there. Your staff generally reviews those as well, so we usually stay in lockstep with them as much as possible. 9 permits for this month, mostly utility permits as usual. For the VDOT project, it's occurring here at International Parkway and Ashley Way. As I mentioned last month, I thought that lane closure is going to come out pretty quickly, and it did. They were actually removing temporary tape that day. So that continuous lane closure has been removed. They will need some intermittent daytime lane closures moving forward. And as I updated this, the anticipated completion date for the project is June 2025. That's, of course, weather dependent. And our weather hasn't been that great lately, so I'm not gonna put anything out there for that one. As for planned routine maintenance work, a lot of what we've been doing is mostly snow removal or ice removal or whatever else that falls from the sky on us lately. And clean up from debris due to the ice storms. We've had a lot of trees down over our counties, including Botetourt, although we fared better than some of the other localities in our district. Been doing some tree trimming, trying to get some things off the road, trying to repair some gravel roads due to the damage from the snow removal efforts. And then, like I said, we'll be starting some patching here fairly soon ahead of those schedules that I mentioned earlier. So that's all I have for this month, unless anybody has any specific questions about this. Does anybody have any other items for me this month?
First of all, any general questions for Mr. Blevins? Anything specifically from Blue Ridge?
I want to thank you for working with me on the paving projects for
Yes, sir.
25 and 26. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fincastle?
No, we're good.
I like it.
Amsterdam?
Two properties that I'm pretty sure VDOT owns that are forming kind of an welcoming sign for Botetourt is those two old abandoned gas stations right at exit 150. Can we do better than that? I mean, I know that that whole area is destined for redevelopment and new highways and so on, but you know, doesn't look so hot. It doesn't seem like it'd be too difficult to raise those buildings.
We can look into it. The contractors technically already started. They just haven't started construction yet. They're already doing design packages, but I don't know what where they'll start whenever they do start construction. But I can look into it and see. Specifically, it's just the look of it, or what are the issues? I didn't notice it when I drove by, but I was watching traffic. It's a little busy through there. So,
It's two buildings on the east side of 220.
yep, I know which ones you're talking about. Was there something specific about the property litter? I know there's an abandoned vehicle at one point, but was there anything else?
No.
Okay.
Visual discourse. I mean, is just not sightly. Certainly love to see it. If we can get it down before they start construction, that'd be fantastic. Got to take it down anyway. Why don't we try to move to get that taken care of?
I'll see what we can do. It is a design build project. So once that contractor takes over, we can nudge some things around, but I'm not 100% sure where they're going to focus their initial construction activities first, but I can see what I can do.
Thank you.
Anything else from Valley?
No, I'm good.
What would be a time frame that we might get some feedback from you on those comments?
The comments about those properties, I can either send something in between now and next month, or for sure I can have you something for you by next month, at least to know where we're headed, you know, what we can do, what we can't do. Yeah.
Great. If you could send something when you get it, I think that.
Okay. I can send it for you earlier
that.
then. Sure.
Thank you.
Surely.
Mhm.
From Buchanan, I'm going to bring up Fringer Trail as we're approaching spring, and I'm thrilled with the weather outside today, giving us all a taste of that.
Mhm.
What I've had the constituents ask, what could we expect there as far as project timeline?
Right. The only thing we have left, other than maybe some dress up, is the paving. That has been a problem. We have not received any bids on either time we put it out. We have not put that contract back out yet. We may actually perform it internally. So it'll be based on what we can do with our equipment and our time, and we may have to form several folks from different areas to make that happen. Folks that have some paving experience prior. Not everybody that starts with us has that expertise. I don't have a timeline yet, but we are working toward that. I probably won't be able to give you an update on it for sure till next month, but I'll have you have a better idea when we come in for next month's meeting in March.
Super. I will pass that along and look forward to that next month. Any other questions, comments for VDOT? Wonderful. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Appreciate the road clearing that you've been busy with. So now we'll bring on our walk-on item. Sheriff Ward, if you would like to come down. And I don't think you were here at the beginning of the meeting, but I am happy that the mayor and the town manager are from Buchanan are here today. So your timing is excellent.
Did we want to talk about the police services contract? And well, basically the town of Buchanan has a charter that requires police services. And this was started back in 1993 under Sheriff Kelly. And over the years, that was like $34,000 for the cost of the deputy and the equipment and the services there. And for the past 27 years, it was kind of being the same, and it really was never updated. you know, the cost of a deputy now is significant and it wasn't keeping up. And instead of having an agreement that mandated that we do this, we do that, without them obligating their obligations and meeting the contract, we decided that we would renew this agreement. I assured them that they're going to continue getting the same services as they have before, if not more, because they are more urbanized environment there in the town. But in order to get 599 funding, they had to have a agreement. So I had Mr. Lockaby review that along with the county administrator to eliminate mandatory services, but to meet the same standard as we had before, to meet the 599 funding, so that the taxpayers in Buchanan aren't paying for the service. It's basically coming from the state and the funding of the grant of the 599 funding. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I think it was just a renewal. This has been going on for 27 years. This is an update. It's considerable. They don't need to continue paying $38,000 as a pass-through for services that we're already providing.
Did we need to approve this? So any questions for Sheriff Ward?
Now, I will add that the 599 funding is approximately 39,000. And instead of it just being a pass-through or something, we're going to collaborate with the town council there in Buchanan, maybe get some radar speed trailer message boards that will do both things, and use that 599 funding for public safety projects within the town and the town limits of Buchanan.
So we'll be happy to facilitate any of those conversations. Any other questions? Has everybody had time to take a look at this?
Good with me.
Okay, if there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff Ward.
You all.
And we look forward to communicating with you all and working out the tail end of that. That's great that you were here today for that. Thank you. So we'll move on now to item 10. Ms. Phillips will come down and we will hear about a possible update to the personnel policy manual regarding annual leave.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. As you know, in Botetourt County, we are always looking for low-cost ways to attract and retain great talent on our team so we can deliver the highest quality services possible to our citizens. To that end, we recommend a few personnel policy revisions that should be located on page 51 of your agenda packet. The first recommendation is a new employee leave award. So currently, our leave policies require that newly hired employees begin accruing leave from 0 hours. So for example, if we hire a new employee and they have a family vacation planned, and it's coming too soon within their accrual process, then they may have to make some hard decisions about whether that vacation can happen, if they have to take unpaid leave. So we don't want to put unnecessary obstacles in the way of our new hires who want to make sure that they start off on a good foot. So starting from 0 hours of accrued leave also means that they really don't have a safety net if they become ill within those first few months of employment. So the proposed revision to the annual vacation leave policy would award the equivalent of 1 work week's hours in vacation leave to a newly hired employee after 30 days of employment. So they would just have that bank that they could pull from if they needed it. Of course, we want to make sure that we're protecting the county's investment in new employees as they come on board. So the second proposed revision is to amend the leave policy to state that any employee who voluntarily or involuntarily leaves employment within that first year of employment. So before their first year of service, if they leave our employment, they do not receive a payout of any of their accrued leave or their awarded leave. So if they don't use that leave, we do not pay that out when they terminate. The third minor change that we're recommending is to amend the leave policy to allow regular part-time leave eligible employees to start accruing leave at the same time as our regular full-time employees. So just for context, if our regular part-time employees, if they work half of a full-time employee's schedule, 20 hours or more a week, then they are eligible for half the leave benefits that a full-time employee would receive. So currently under our policies, they have to wait 6 months before they can start accruing any leave. This would just simplify the process and put them on the same schedule as every other new hire who's a regular leave eligible employee. The other recommendations for the annual leave policy, just housekeeping. So we reorganized, reworded some sections for better clarity and brevity. Nothing outstanding there. The sick leave bank was eliminated last January, and we're just taking that section out so that nobody becomes confused when they're reading the policy and sees that and think it still exists when it does not. So the recommendation is to approve the proposed amendments to the leave policy, the new employee leave award, protecting the county's investment by not having a payout if the employee leaves before they reach 1 full year of service, amending the policy to ensure that regular part-time leave eligible employees start accruing at the same time as their full-time counterparts, and then just some rewording and housekeeping sections. I'll be glad to entertain any questions that you have.
Any questions for Ms. Phillips? Anything?
Questions, but it looks good there. I think they're exactly the kinds of policies we should be carrying forward now. Good update.
Very favorable. That's good.
It's definitely a positive restructure, I think, with the way that they can access the leave that they were going to get anyway.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Julie,
Okay.
as far as around the area, have you seen any other policy like this?
I haven't done a strategic look at everyone else's, but I have not in just cursory overviews.
Really nice. That's good.
So.
Thank you.
Okay. No further discussion. I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Julie, thank you for your work on that.
Thank you.
Congratulations to the employees for the added benefits. That's good. Next item, Mr. Hinkle will make his way down. This is agenda item number 11, consideration of a co-location lease agreement with Cellco Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless for a communications tower and ground space at Big Hill. Matt, welcome.
Excuse me. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Before you today, I bring a co-location agreement with Verizon. About a year or so ago, I was approached for Verizon to lease space on a county-owned tower that we call Big Hill, which is up on Price's Bluff, north of Eagle Rock. Through negotiation, we were able to negotiate a lease payment of $2,400 a month that Verizon will be paying the county. And then there's a 2.8% escalator annually. The term of the agreement is 10 years with five-year renewals or potential renewals. So potentially this could be a 35-year agreement with Verizon. In addition to this lays the groundwork for Verizon to work with us to add an additional 20 feet to the top of the tower where they will co-locate their equipment. This actually is a win-win for us. In our new radio system, we needed to locate some equipment at the just above the 150-foot mark, which is the top of the tower now. So essentially, Verizon is getting ready to put their equipment on it, and they're doing the work, preventing us from, well, not making us pay for the extension of the tower. So it really is a win-win. So legal has reviewed it for legal sufficiency. And the staff recommendation is to approve the lease with Verizon for co-location space on the Big Hill Tower. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Hing? Mr. Lockaby, I think I've read that you have reviewed this lease and it looks to be in order. Any other questions?
Madam Chair, if there's no other questions, move for approval of the co-location lease agreement.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda items number 12. I say that plural because we have 3 things that we're going to hear about. And I don't know if it's coincidentally, but we have 3 school employees coming down to talk about those. To the board, we will be voting on item A. Item B is going to be for information only, and item C, there will be no action on either at this moment. We will have action on item B at a later meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members. As you can see, item A is seeking permission to use the capital reserve funds to address HVA system at Breckenridge Elementary. I'm going to turn the mic over to our Director of Operations, Mr. Andy DeWeese. He will provide you much better answers than I will for questions you may have. Mr. DeWeese.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Breckenridge Elementary School is one of our older schools within the division. There have been upgrades over the year. Breckenridge has 7 rooftop units. Currently, 5 of them are functioning properly. These rooftop units were installed in 2009. The 2 that we're seeking funding for to replace were installed in 2000. So they're approximately 25 years old. Average rooftop unit, commercial rooftop unit now is 15 to 20 years. We have been crutching along with these 2 rooftop units for several years now. And they've come to the place where they have failed. The parts are obsolete. And so therefore, in November, we had to make the decision to, we needed to move forward with replacement of new rooftop units. Now, you ask, how have we been providing heat for our students and staff during the winter months? We were able to secure just rental individual 1-ton units for 10 classrooms since November. And of course, you can imagine while those rentals are providing adequate, and I repeat, adequate temperatures for our students, it's not as reliable as we would get with new rooftops. It's 10 instructional spaces within the school, which is approximately about 1/3 of the school, and 2 hallways that these units will serve. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Just curious, so it's the rental on?
Sure. So each unit, the rental rate is around $900 a month. So therefore, when you're looking at 10 rental units, it's approximately $9,000 a month that we're paying, that we've paid through the winter.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if good. The working ones right now, how old are they, the units?
2009. So they're approximately, 16 years?
And I assume they work kind of in zones.
They do. Yeah, they're
So
multi-zone
the
units.
2 that have failed are.
Yeah, so
2 zones
specifically,
of the
yeah,
school.
specifically, we were looking at 1 20-ton rooftop that would take care of 3 classroom spaces and a hallway. Then we were looking at a 30-ton rooftop that would take care of 5 classrooms, a computer lab, and a hallway.
Any other questions? And you've been renting these since November?
November, yes, ma'am.
Seems like you got reasonable service out of them. It's 2009.
Yeah.
The new units that you're looking at, can you tell us about the warranty or the expected lifespan for those?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a 15 to 20-year fix for us with averages. Of course, nothing's guaranteed with products manufactured now, but this would be a summer 2025 project for us, with your approval, and we can secure the purchase order to get the units ordered.
Do we know that these units are available?
Yeah, they would be available. There's some the 20-ton unit is readily available. However, with, of course, anytime you make changes to a rooftop, it's not always a perfect fit on top of that roof. So there's some curbing and things that would have to take place. There is some lead time on the 30-ton unit. But again, this would be best for summer of 2025. That way it doesn't cause too much disruption to the school day. We'd have to get a crane in. The provider would have to do some pretty significant work to get those units on.
Other questions?
Just scribbling here on the paper. Do you think these rental units would hold you during the summer months?
At a cost of $9,000 a month, yes, I do believe that we could rent them as long as the rental company would want us to rent them. But again, during the summer months, good thing about these 1-ton rental units, not only they provide heat, they have dual function. They can provide AC as well. Of course, there's not as much of a capacity in the building during the summer months, and really these classroom areas may or not be being used for summer programming.
Other questions?
I know I saw it somewhere, but what was the cost on these two?
The cost on the two? Yeah, the cost, the 20-ton is around $86,000. The 30-ton is $120,000. And then there's a computer lab we're having to take care of as well. And of course, we have to be careful with computer labs to make sure we have proper air conditioning with thermostats and everything. So we would like to be able to put like a small mini split in for that lab. And then the total cost, which would include the rental cost, which we're asking for the last 4 months, would be approximately $40,000. So therefore, the total allocation, I believe Mr. Lee put in the capital reserve request, was right at $280,000.
282, 351.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, if there's no further questions, I'll move for approval.
And second that.
There's a motion and a second to approve $351,000 to purchase these 2 units and to pay for the rental since November. Further discussion? Anything? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now to discuss Colonial Elementary. I want to start out by saying we're at a critical point and we no longer have space in that building. But that has truly been the case for the last couple of years. And the reason I say that, to make room for additional classrooms that we've needed the past 2 years, we've had to move a preschool classroom out of Colonial Elementary. So we no longer service preschool at Colonial. We're in the process of creating an additional preschool room at Cloverdale Elementary to be able to bring all of the Colonial Elementary students to one space, and that's going to be at Cloverdale this coming year. And as most of you probably know, off the side of the cafeteria was a teacher workroom lounge. That room is no longer a teacher workroom lounge. We had to move the music room, all the music classes out of the music room. They now meet in that workroom. And in that music room, we had to create a regular classroom based on the number of students that have moved into that building. As you know, in a music room, when it is built, in a building, there's, what's the wording I'm looking for? Yeah, acoustics that are placed in there. That is not in the current location for the music room. And the acoustics beside an elementary cafeteria, if you've never been in one, I invite you to come by there. They probably would do no good anyway. Probably my biggest concern of those two is the preschool classroom that we've had to move. We're talking about 18 students. One of the things I'm proud of in Botetourt is we have preschool in each of our buildings. And this gives students a head start, some up to 2 years, being into and getting acclimated to the building they're going to be attending school. By not having these preschool students at Colonial, once they start as kindergartners, they're brand new coming into that building. So we would love to be able to bring them back. And if we are granted these additional classrooms at Colonial, we would be able to probably add another preschool classroom because we have a need and we have students each year that go onto a waiting list. But I would tell you 4 classrooms would be a great addition. If we opened with 4 new classrooms today, we're actually opening with only 2 because we're 2 behind now. We would need to move the music back to music, and we'd like to get our preschool back into their classroom as well. But I will answer any questions you all may have regarding this request.
Again, we're not taking any action on this today, so this is completely for information at this point. So please ask any questions that you have now, and then there'll be future time for questions as well.
What's the staff impact? Does this imply the need for more teachers as well?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. The staff impact, does this imply the need for additional teachers?
No, nope. So the preschool classroom that we are currently placing at Cloverdale has a teacher. The music classroom, which would go back to a regular classroom, would go back to the music room and have a teacher. Now, if we added a later preschool classroom, which I think we would have the numbers to do it, we would have to add a preschool teacher for that classroom. But in the current situation, it would not.
Further questions?
And I will say this, looking at numbers as of today compared to last year for kindergarten registrations, we're up above where we were at this point last year. I think we're in good shape that we'll be able to operate with 4 kindergarten classrooms in that building this year, but I can't promise you the number won't keep climbing to get to another request. And if that request comes in this year, I'll just admit to you right now, I don't know where we would put that classroom.
Is that kindergarten enrollment up across the county, or are you speaking just of Colonial?
Of Colonial.
Okay.
And in spaces, in certain buildings, it is up compared to where it was at this point. And again, that will depend on late registrations or people who wait until the last minute, right before school starts.
Dr. Russ, if I can put you on the spot here, as far as the capacities at the other elementary schools, how are they? If you break those down.
It varies tremendously. At Eagle Rock, we're probably
Understood.
probably 40%. I don't have the numbers in front of me. They're probably close to the same capacities that I've shared over the last couple of years with you all. And that's information I can get to you specifically as of with brand new numbers of the current. I can have our tech people run that based on any day.
What I'm looking at is the other schools are probably asking for not additions, but help in some form or fashion. And I don't know, how is that going to be monitored or taken care of once this occurs?
One school at a time.
That's right.
One request at a time. And there are requests, and I'll be honest, to make the room at Cloverdale that I feel should be at Colonial, we're displacing a guidance counselor to a much smaller space to use where her office is now as the classroom for preschool. So it's not ideal to put it there, but it's probably the best alternative we have right now.
Any further discussion, questions? I just have one to follow up. Can you explain who attends preschool, and is that mandatory that we have one for each district, or what is the
So
around that?
we can have, if a child qualifies for special education services beginning at age 2, we do have a couple of locations that those students are placed in. So we don't have an option there. We do have to provide that. With preschool and VPI, the Virginia Preschool Initiative, we have a max number that we can put at each building, and that's 18. And one program that I think is very beneficial here is our preschool classrooms are inclusive classrooms, meaning they may have special education students in them as well as regular ed students. I can't imagine operating the school system without a preschool program. The achievement gap that you all hear of so much, that achievement gap is created from birth to kindergarten. We have kids who come into kindergarten who can read, and we have kids who come into kindergarten who don't know letter recognition or may not be able to hold a pencil. Preschool eliminates and cuts that achievement gap out most times. If not, it makes it much smaller.
So you said there's a max of 18 at each school.
In each classroom. So if you have 2 preschool classrooms at a school, you could have 2 of 18.
Right.
Yes.
So we don't have one currently at Colonial,
We do not.
but how many do we have at Cloverdale?
We're going to have 2.
Those 18 are basically being moved.
Yes.
to
This
Cloverdale.
past year, we didn't have all of Colonials in one location. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the students we had to transport to, I know Troutville, Cloverdale, anywhere else? Breckenridge. It placed a huge burden on the transportation department, and hats off to Mr. DeWeese and his crew for making it happen. It's not as simple as picking up all 18 kids on one vehicle and taking them and dropping them off. We have buses and vans all over the county. And at certain ages, you have to be equipped with car seats.
Mhm.
So when we do that, they're in vans.
Super. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That item we'll address again. And the last one is your school
Update. And I'll just
updates.
reiterate a couple of things we said at the State of the County. And I don't want to come up here and all we do is ask, and it sounds like we're not getting things done. I will speak about or brag about our student achievement every time I have an opportunity. As you all probably know, there are 132 school divisions across the state. When we take our state assessments, the standards of learning, or SOLs, I'm sure you've heard of, this past year, Botetourt County ranked in the category of reading, Botetourt County ranked 6th in the state. In mathematics, Botetourt County ranked 4th in the state. And then if you combined all SOL tests, every subject, every grade level, Botetourt County ranked 7 out of 132. That is a tremendous accomplishment. I'll say it again, we have great principals, assistant principals, teachers, and our parents send kids to school ready to learn. So we have a lot to be thankful for and a lot to be proud of with our students and student achievement. If there's other questions you all have, or if you want to update on where we are with budget, I could speak to that a little bit, or we can let Mr. Lee talk about it. The biggest thing is we're waiting on the calc tool from Richmond. And what the calc tool does is tells us, here's how much money you're going to get in this category, this category, this category. But we currently do not have a calc tool. So we're throwing darts right now.
Those rankings that you mentioned, which are indeed impressive, who was the authority, the adjudicating group?
I don't understand.
Whose ratings were they?
The Virginia Department of Education.
Okay.
Yep, those are state, you can find them at anywhere. Those, I didn't just come up with those numbers.
We would have been first.
That's right. If I came up with them, we certainly would have.
Other questions? I would hear any other budget updates that you have. I realize it's an estimate at this point, but
Yep,
if
I'll
Mr.
I'll
Lee
let
has
Mr. Lee speak.
anything
Now,
to-
I'll be honest, he didn't bring numbers with him, so he's going to
Okay.
be shooting. in the
Never
dark
mind.
as well.
If you have anything,
I'll just reiterate what Dr. Russ was saying is we receive a governor's budget obviously early in the process. And historically, when we get that number, it's going to be different than what we get from the House version, the Senate version, and the conference budget that gets then presented. There've been years where governor comes in here, House and Senate are way over here, and it's truly a massive guessing game. There are other years where they tend to be a little bit closer. In this instance, they're not extremely far away from each other, but there's enough wiggle room in there that if you look at the versions over here versus the version over here, it does leave a decent amount of money that you'd be looking at in terms of a difference. Without having the calc tools, we can't truly pinpoint that number down based on where the funding levels are coming from and the sources that they're coming from the state. They did put their conference budget out. I have reached out to the Department of Education. They responded with it. They are working on a calc tool, but they're not willing to share a timeline as to when that would be released to everybody yet. So
do you know what the difference between the conference budget and the governor's initial budget was?
it's roughly $950,000, almost $1 million different between what was initially proposed and what they have. Now, that's a large number looking without having any kind of, the benefit of the calc tool is we can go in and we can manipulate ADM. We can manipulate VPI slots. We can manipulate the English learners numbers that we have that all impact dollars that we receive in those areas. So without being able to do that, it can't give you the exact difference between them. But looking surface level, it's 900 to $1 million.
Okay. Other questions?
Thank you all.
And I think Supervisor Michael and Nicely have been attending school budget meetings.
Well, I didn't know about the other one.
Okay, we'll be attending
But
school budget
Mr.
meetings.
Michael got us up to snuff.
Yeah, so great. Thank you all for your participation and thank you for your partnership. And,
Absolutely.
to be continued.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. And that brings us to agenda item 13, citizen comment. I have a couple forms. If you want to speak on general items, please come on down. I will call the three that I have, but if you don't have a form yet, you have plenty of time to turn that in. Our first citizen comment will be Danny Goad.
Madam Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name's Danny Goad. I live in the Valley District, and I've got a couple questions about the presentation on the schools. The issue with the chillers is not a new issue. That's an issue that came up 3 years ago where I think over $600,000 was spent on various chillers at 2 or 3 different points in time. And it seems to me that if you have an asset, that it would be reasonable to have a plan for when items, big ticket items, such as HVAC systems, would need to have major repairs or to be replaced. And it seems like since that time that there's really been no work to understand what the comprehensive nature is of those HVAC systems. These systems are designed to last 20 years. Many systems will last 40 years, even though they're designed to reach a 20-year lifespan. And you should expect that on some of these units and not just to replace them when they reach a threshold of 20 years old. And it sounds like at least there's been some kind of an attempt to run some of these units beyond what they were actually performing at. But there should be a plan to be able to address your physical needs for the assets that you have. It's and when you have an asset that outperforms that and it lasts for 35 years, then you can put that money in the bank and set it aside for another piece of equipment. But it doesn't seem like there's a plan for that. And along the same lines with regard to the school at Colonial Elementary, I'm sort of surprised that it's, however old it is, and that we're running out of space, and it just seems like there's been a lack of planning there. The question that Dr. Scotthorn raised with regard to other school capacities, it seems at least that those numbers would be known. What are the capacities at Cloverdale Elementary and at least schools that are close by? Because if you run into a situation where you can't address the capacity that you have, or if you exceed the capacity in one school, you very well may have to go to something that's not quite as used at quite as high a level. So I think we need to tighten up what we're looking at and plan, and not just take whatever hits us in the face and act like we didn't anticipate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Terry Broccoli.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak. And thank you, Board. Let me just start by saying I'm a little upset that the superintendent of schools walked out when the citizens needed to share how they feel about what's going on in the schools. Totally unacceptable. First of all, I would like to say, I thought the original plan with Colonial had 4 extra classrooms. Those were cut because they needed to put the money somewhere else. And here we are having a problem with overcrowding. Secondly, I would really like for this county to start thinking outside the box, because we really do not know what's going to happen when the Department of Education shuts down. And it will shut down, which is a good thing, because those dollars that are going to the bureaucracy at the federal level can now come down to the state level, which, who knows, maybe we'll get more money for the schools, which would be fabulous. But in the meantime, when we have schools that are deteriorating like Breckenridge and Troutville, for the last 20 years that I've been here, that's all I've heard is how they've been deteriorating, and nothing ever gets done. I would like to see the county seriously look at shutting both of those schools down and putting portables where there's overcrowding, to where we can accommodate the overcrowding. The decline in enrollment in the county keeps going down, but we're spending more money with the schools. I just don't understand all of this spending, and maybe I'll get a better understanding when I sit on the budget again, because nothing got deducted last year. It looks like, thanks to Mr. Michael, things might be able to get deducted out. But there's a lot of things that are going on with the schools, and when I heard those numbers last week when I was listening to the board say where we fell in the state for our kids in this county, I was so excited about that because these kids have really had to overcome lots of obstacles, from COVID to the DEI to the CRT to all the other stuff that's going on. And for our kids to be able to be at that level just warmed my heart. It was awesome. And I would like to try to keep that for the kids. One other thing, I would love to see the county and the schools put more emphasis on skills for the kids to learn different schools. If they're going to take the SNAP program away, which I doubt they will, but it would be nice if each of the schools had their own gardens. The kids would learn how to garden. I mean, these kids don't have any skills. That I would like to see more of that. So I appreciate you listening, and I just hope that maybe you guys can start looking outside the box of options instead of just always handing money over. You know, they're asking for another 5 million. Oh my gosh, you know, last year it was the same thing. But nothing happens with the schools. They keep deteriorating. And maybe we should just pay for the air conditioning for Breckenridge through the summer and shut it down and have those kids go to Greenfield, the Troutville kids go to Cloverdale and Colonial.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker that I have signed up, Dave Condon.
See if this one's on. Hello. Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and the board. My name is Ann Condon. I'm speaking for my husband, David Condon. We live at 5520 McKinney Hollow Road, Eagle Rock. And this is in reference to Rocky Forge LLC. I question Apex on the submission of all right-of-way leases submitted to Botetourt County. Michael Morgan, residing at 921 Dagger Spring Road, tax map ID I-9-1 and 18-9, recently advised an offer up to $24,000 for a right-of-way agreement offered by Apex but declined. Mr. Morgan's name and possibly others were not on the list submitted by Apex to the county. All work should be halted until this is investigated and resolved with a new permit being issued. An interconnection agreement between Apex, PGM, and BoCo is a required document per state law per the special exemption permit. However, that agreement lapsed August 1st, 2024, since no building permit had been issued. PGM on December 10th, 2024 advised the Virginians for Responsible Energy the interconnection agreement was still suspended. Unless you have on file a current interaction agreement as of today, the issuance of a building permit filed earlier violates the special exemption permit. Some questions. Today, do you have a file and insurance policy naming the county as a name insured from Apex or Rocky Forge? I would think this is a required document. And the second question, do you have on file a security bond naming the county for demolition of the wind turbines? Is this a required document? The approval by the FAA is another required document, which was predicated on one low-level, high-speed military training route, which is Visual Route 096. However, the FAA failed to acknowledge two other military training routes, which would have changed the outcome to hazard-to-air navigation. Written correspondence to General Brown, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Admiral Lisa Fanchetti, Naval Chief of Operations, went unanswered, plus being denied information under FIOA by the Defense Department. Both General Brown and Admiral Fanchetti were fired by President Trump. On January 20th, 2025, President Trump issued a federal executive order regarding onshore and offshore wind projects. Section 2, temporary cessation and immediate review of federal wind leasing and permitting. Paragraph A states, in light of various alleged legal deficiencies underlying federal government's leasing and permitting of offshore and onshore wind projects which may lead to grave harm, including negative impacts on navigational safety interest. I sent a letter dated January 30th, 2025 to President Trump regarding the FAA's failure to conduct a complete investigation of the low-level, high-speed military training routes, which may be detrimental to the lives of the military aviators and Botetourt County citizens. I strongly urge that you halt all work on Rocky Forge for now until these matters are resolved. A second air disaster in Gala does not need to occur. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at this time? Fantastic. Okay. We have time now for board member comments. I'm going to start us off by asking a couple of folks for updates. Mr. Evans, would you provide an update, please, on our courthouse project? We have a lot of projects, as you all know, and I want to do my best to keep everybody abreast of what's happening with each of those.
Madam Chair, board members, thank you for having me. We'll start with the Circuit Courthouse. Construction has started. The Dodd building is basically demoed on the inside, and we will deploy equipment probably Wednesday or tomorrow, and then start tearing it down on Friday. The courthouse itself, we've cleared all the ceilings and floors of tile and ceilings and floor tiles. And we will, we're currently doing the asbestos abatement on the third floor. And once that gets cleared, we should get cleared tomorrow. We do have an abatement monitoring company to make sure we're doing all that right. They will should finish the abatement on the third floor tomorrow, and then subsequently make their way down the different levels until they finish the basement, probably in a week and a half or 2 weeks. We have the area fenced in. For the Dodd building separately, the courthouse complex is fenced in with new fencing. I had to have it replaced because it wasn't new when they first put it in. I've contacted Fincastle, and they're going to put their Fincastle banners around as soon as they get a chance. We let them have first choice on where they want to put it. So moving back to the courthouse, on Monday, we're the MEP crews, which is Varney, will be taking out the refrigerant systems. We've already drained all the boiler systems and had them tested for all, like glycol and all other chemicals. And we're looking to start probably exterior demoing on the courthouse itself in May. We'll be subsequently building the road and doing the remediation on the retention wall. So once we get that retention wall, all the backfill all redone, we'll build the road around. Then hopefully in July, we'll be ready to start moving that law office and hotel. Any questions on the courthouse?
As we start the demo in May, how's traffic impacts that people need to be aware of?
So we're going to start from the north side of the building, which is the actual back part, the extension part. And we're going to very slowly bring the building inward. At that time, at least one lane on Roanoke Street will have to be closed just for safety's sake.
Sure.
And we will also have to be sprinkling it to keep any dust down. But the back part of the building is going to go real slow. get started. And it'll take several months to demo the whole building.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
In the Reed Mountain Fire Department, we're still in the design phase. We had another meeting today on designing our different systems for it. The goal here is to get that to bid in April. And the construction time for that is between 12 to 18 months. Hopefully on the lower side of the 12 months is what we're looking at. But hopefully I'll have that put out to bid in April.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
No, I do have another comment once we're ready for it.
Okay. Thank you. Chief Ferguson, can I bring you down to talk about storm damage and emergency operations? Thank you for everything you've done over the past busy month.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Yes, ma'am. So obviously it's been a busy season between snow, ice, and of course the flooding event last week. Just the snapshot there, of course, we've had enhanced readiness between volunteer and career staff with additional staffing in-house during the times of predicted snow and ice, as well as during the flooding event. We stood up some swiftwater crews that were immediately available for both local and regional deployment. Certainly, we had our share of responses throughout that time period. I will call attention to the newly implemented Buchanan Fire Crew. That joint venture has been going now for 2 days. Will make a full month, and that has been a very harmonious relationship. Actually, the first snowfall, we had 9 interstate responses that morning, and all of those that I speak to were in the Buchanan area or section of Interstate 81. And for the first time in a long time, all of those responses had 2 pieces of apparatus committed to them, which is in our world a primary piece to take care of the incident and a blocking piece to keep the people running the incident safe in the forward safety zone. So extremely well received and working in concert with one another. We've had several volunteers pick up shifts to help with staffing gaps. So that's been going well. Shifting a little bit into the flooding, obviously the Buchanan area was most prominently and visibly impacted. I believe meteorologist Watts indicated that that was the highest it's been since 2004 as far as the James cresting. We are now in the damage assessment period where we're reviewing local damage assessments, reports from business owners. I know that Emergency Manager Murray is supposed to reach out and make sure we're engaged with the town on any reports they have so that we can look at our eligibility for public assistance as it relates to recouping any costs related to the response. Our threshold, as I understand, may have already been met by the State Highway Department because, of course, it's all cumulative costs associated with these storm responses. But we also had the Eagle Rock area was impacted. The most impassable routes up there was really Craig's Creek Road. Both at, it started at Roaring Run, and then eventually the closure was at Ballpark. And then on the upper end, Oriskany was really cut off on the Craig Creek Road, Newcastle end, which we were prepared to respond with water rescue assets to get through the water and get to them if necessary. So a lot of activity in addition to the normal day-to-day responses. Thankfully, we had no significant injuries to responders. As a result, of course, we had slips, trips, and falls on the ice, but everybody's been returning home safely to their family and no major incidents of significance to point out. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Questions?
Chief, how about an update on our new ambulances and engines?
Yes, sir. So 3 of the 6 ambulances that are currently on order are slated to arrive in July of this year. The other 3 that were authorized last fall are on the 2027 timetable. So really, we're getting 1 ambulance a year over a 6-year period. They're just in 2 batches. So those have already, the drawings and final plans have been affirmed, and they're in the production line to start being produced here in the next month or so. As far as the 2 fire engines that are on order, we received an update about 2 weeks ago that we will go for the pre-build confirmation late fall of this year, and they will be arriving April, May of 2026. And the ladder truck is teed up for pre-build in July of this year with an arrival of March of 2026. A lot going on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Chief? Thank you, and thank you especially for Buchanan for your efforts there.
Certainly
And if we can work together on anything to help with this assessment now, let us know.
Yeah, just a huge shout out to the responders in the field, both volunteer and career. They're really carrying the weight and getting business done. So very thankful to have the resources that we do.
Well, please carry our thanks to them.
Will do. Thank you.
Other board member comments? Mr.
Yes,
Michael.
I wanted to give an attaboy to Mr. Hinkle. It was nice to hear that we're getting somebody else to pay for the extension to the tower, and it's refreshing to have vote on something that was revenue generating instead of expense.
Any comments? Board comments? I will quickly call your attention to 2 upcoming events, kind of near and dear to my heart, both of them. At Virginia Western on March 18th, we're having an Agripalooza event. This is to support local agriculturists. The Secretary of Ag will be one of our 2 keynote speakers. There'll be a number of breakout sessions through the day to that people can pick what is most relevant to their agricultural businesses. We're hosting this with the Small Business Development Group. Heather Fay has been really instrumental in putting all this together. So if you're interested in attending, you can go to SBDC and the event will be there. And along those lines, the Botetourt Chamber of Commerce is hosting their agriculture committee is hosting a lunch on April 8th. That's going to be at the Barn at Back Creek in Buchanan. The topic will be land conservation. So there will be resources there to learn about conservation easements so that there can just be discussion. If you would like to participate in that, you can register with the Botetourt County Chamber. I don't have any other business today, so I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I don't think we have to vote on that, but it passed. Thank you all. I hope you have a great, great week. I didn't. Yeah.